Hey, look what I found in my basement. I haven't seen it for 2 years. It is my 4-inch crystal ball. I found it right next to my sacrificial altar. Just kidding. um, Let me show you something that's really neat. Now, let me preface this by saying, as I mentioned before, a fisheye lens is a proprietary piece that is really great. It's kind of like adding pepper to the top of your favorite food. And you use it the same way in photography, like in a wedding shoot or a corporate gig or to pad your portfolio. You dash a little bit here and there, but you don't overdo it. And this is exactly that same sort of tool. Now, technically, this is also a lens, as I found out when I found it last week in the basement. I used to use this on a couple corporate gigs. People love it. You just toss a couple shots in. I'll show you how to use it. Actually, these have gotten cheaper. I remember paying $40 for this 4-inch one. I found out that they're basically selling now for $20 on eBay. Let me show you how to use it and the sort of results you get, and you'll be really shocked. Once you see it, you'll think it's really cool and you'll probably buy one. But it'll also operate as a mirrorless lens, be it Fuji or Phony, either one, or basically any mirrorless that I could think of. But I found that out last week since I thought I'd give it a try. So, what is it and what does it do? Well, it is, I think it's a leaded glass sphere. There are 2 tips on how to use this properly, but first let me show you the results. Here's some shots. You can actually type in crystal ball photography. Actually, let me change the focus here. I'm using a manual focus lens, so you're going to have to forgive me. There you go. Very, very fascinating. Use it like a sphere. Use it as the point of focus. Here's a great shot. Let me see if I can get it in. Now he's using a relatively good depth of field on that one since the lighthouse is in focus, but that's his compositional choice. There's another glorious one. Here's a really great example. He's probably using f2.8 or something, just as shallow. Background's totally blurred out, and that's the shot there. Beautiful. Now, a lot of these people, and I have one somewhere, I haven't found it yet. I've got a 2-inch one. Most of them are the ones that fit between your fingers, about 1.5 or 2-inch, and those should be a lot cheaper. But the trick to using this thing is preferably you'd want to use a higher megapixel camera. Why is that necessarily the case? Because when you go to crop in the shot, since the only thing that's actually in focus is the actual crystal ball itself, one of the neat effects, either in your portfolio or a picture you give to your client digitally or in print, is the actual sphere itself. So just like in wildlife photography where someone's shooting a bird, and that's why they use DX cameras, because the pixel density is so high, and why they're not using, generally speaking, FX sensors with much larger photo sites, is that they have to crop in drastically. Say this is your shot and this person didn't crop this. What I would do after the shot is I'd actually crop it like yay, and you can see the blurred out background and maybe a little hint of what's in here, out here. That way you're able to maintain all that great detail since you're only using a small part of your ultimate raw shot that you've done the conversion on. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, obviously, is throw it into shallow depth of field. F4, depending how far away the subject matter. Now this is the subject, but technically in this case the subject is also behind the crystal ball. So preferably, like I said, a 24 megapixel or higher DX sensor camera, or even like a 36 megapixel Nikon D810, strictly based upon the fact that you compositionally would want to crop this shot most of the time for best effect, and maintain a tremendous amount of detail in the crystal ball sphere. This also, as it turns out, you can use as a lens. Now I was using, let me show you a shot. I was basically using like a pinhole camera. Let me see if I can bring up a shot here. Here's a test shot. It's actually a bell in the window. What I did is I actually took the lens cap off, make sure it wasn't actually touching the sensor, and I pressed the mount up very close to the crystal ball, and I was able to turn the camera around. Now you would think that you would get a fisheye shot out of this, but that's not the case. The only time you actually get the spherical fisheye shot is when you're back away from the crystal ball, about a foot or so, a few inches. But when you actually have your mirrorless camera pressed up against the crystal ball, you actually get what turns out to be like a 50 or 60 millimeter equivalent on the shot. But that is that, and this is one of the coolest little tricks in the world. Like I said, the amount of really fascinating pictures that you can take with a crystal ball is fascinating. I haven't messed with it for years. I mean, I've messed with so many photography hacks and tricks. Here you can see this person's actually holding this one. It's upside down, but also the image is upside down, so he actually inverted the image even though his hand is that way. So you see the right side image of the main subject that's passing through the crystal ball. But you can see he's actually holding like a 2-inch crystal ball instead of like this large one that I have. I actually have like an 1.5-inch one somewhere buried in the basement. Now obviously it is the case that you're going to have to touch this wherever you take it, so you'd probably want to take a, like I did, I used to pack around a, if I knew I was going to use this little trick, I would pack around a isopropyl or rubbing alcohol wipe in a Ziploc bag. That would remove all my hand oils off my hand, and I'd actually wipe down this crystal ball. Then I would place it and actually carry this little stand with me. Now, this is also glass, but I have rubber electrical tape right here. That way I'm actually place it the crystal ball on the stand and then shoot through there. The only reason for that being is that glass against glass is going to scratch the crystal ball, and this of course is just like a lens. So the more scratch-free you can keep it, the longer, obviously, the better. Because once it gets pretty decently scratched, then obviously, just like any lens, you've basically ruined it, because this is a lens. But you can use it, like I said, as an external lens, like I did and other people do, where you actually throw your depth of field shallow, f4 or shallower, and you're using it as a lens, but a secondary lens to your primary lens, obviously so. But I found out the neat little trick. It's kind of an oddball effect, but you actually can use this as a lens itself in front of a mirrorless camera. I was messing around with that a few days ago. So, and like I said, these have gotten a lot cheaper, so you might want to consider buying one of these. I used to use them occasionally in a wedding. They are kind of heavy. I don't know where my 2-inch one went to. I've obviously lost my balls. I knew someone would probably make that comment. It's somewhere in the basement. But these have gotten cheaper, and you should really consider buying one. One of the neatest effects that I've actually seen done with it, and that was a long time ago. I don't know where the picture is. Buddy of mine by the name of Steve, he actually did a nude model shot, and he actually held it, had this on top of a stand, and he had his nude model behind, standing on a small pedestal, and he had her actually curve her body. He told her how to curve her body so that she actually looked like she was inside the crystal ball itself. And I've not seen anybody duplicate that since. Obviously the human body is rather versatile in how it could move, and but I see most of the shots like this for people doing scenery and whatnot where you can't really do anything. But think of, there's a beautiful little shot. Isn't that gorgeous? There's just thousands of things that you can do. You need to start thinking about light and how it bends and what you could do to improve your photographic skills. And it's neat little pepper and spice like this that you can toss into your portfolio or into a wedding shoot. And this is the stuff that blows people away. You could actually have mediocre shots, but if you like pop in a fisheye shot or do a crystal ball shot like the wedding reception or the wedding, I mean, it blows people's minds. They always want multiples of it because it is so original. And thinking outside of the box and not doing the standard plain Jane humdrum crap that everybody else has seen, that is the stuff that makes you money. So what's making you money? A $20 crystal ball. This is leaded glass. At least I'm certain it's leaded glass. I know it's not quartz, but it's some form of glass, but they are perfectly clear, so they do make perfect little lenses, as long as, of course, you keep them scratch-free, so you wouldn't have some little towel caddy that you pack this around with. But this is the stuff that makes money. People think, well, I gotta have this $1,500 Nikkor lens because that's the crap that makes me money. Well, that's true, But it's little spices and peppers like this for corporate shoots, portrait shoots, to line your portfolio for a wedding, that people love it. They go crazy over it. They absolutely fucking love it. I promise you. So consider buying one of these, preferably probably a smaller one like I have that I can't find right now, a little 2-inch crystal sphere, and experiment with it. You will have a lot of fun and people will love the results, okay? Thanks for watching. Catch you later. Bye.